that if war is started, because wise nations achieve their objectives without fighting a war. So this is the mantra. If the war started, it means strategy has failed. So nuclear war, we would, inshallah, would never ever use there would not a time when we have to use our nuclear power to demonstrate that how powerful we are. But this is the complete utilization of the nuclear program, that it has saved us from turning into rubble. Second lesson of Ukraine-Russia war, go for indigenous, go for, go for indigenous self-reliance. Don't rely on others to compromise their interests to protect your interest of sovereignty. No one would protect you. This happened with Pakistan in 1971 when we kept on waiting for the US warship, and fall of Dhaka happened. And we learned our lesson, alhamdulillah, in 1971. Now we would not wait for any foreign warship to safeguard our integrity and national territorial sovereignty. So the third lesson of Ukraine-Russia war, safeguard your interest yourself. Other countries would not safeguard your interest, but use you to protect and achieve their interests. If I ask you, who is the sole beneficiary of Russia-Ukraine conflict, the answer is the USA. Even West is handling with worse kind of economic and energy crisis. It is only the USA. And what happens? The growing economy of the West are struggling to remain on those positions. And this is what USA has achieved. Then another important lesson is, if you have to rely on defense in terms of defending your country on another country, go for diversification. Go for diversification. Don't put all eggs in one basket. India has almost considerable defense dependence on Russia. And now, you know, there are difference of opinion on this, but let me share it with you. But now, what do you think? If Russia would kept engaged in Ukraine, it would fulfill its defense agreements with India, or it would meet the needs in Ukraine? किसको प्रायोरिटी देगा, रशियन सॉवरेनिटी और वॉर को के इंडियन डिफेंस इंटरेस्ट्स को? डेफिनेटली Russia's own interest. And this is what has slowed down comparatively to some extent, slowed down the Indian military modernization, which was a big, an important dream of late General Bipin Rawat. It was his task to modernize Indian military. So diversification is very important, and technology transfer. As our worthy speakers mentioned, that China is the most reliable country to transfer technology to Pakistan. It not only support us when it comes to defense, it transfers the technology. And this is what lack when it comes to Europe, or our reliance on Europe and the USA in terms of defense. Now, Pakistan and India. We all know, as a student of international security, I really respect the two statements by our young foreign minister, Bilawal Bhutto. First statement was, he said that instead of becoming a geopolitical football, Pakistan would prefer to facilitate negotiations between China and the USA. That is, I think, that can be the best thing Pakistan can do for the region. And the second, he said, when he openly called Mr. Modi the butcher of Gujarat. And later on he added butcher of Gujarat and Kashmir. And this is what Mr. Modi is. If he doesn't want to see his picture in the mirror, that's his problem. since 2014, BJP government under Modi has completely shut down all the communication channels between Pakistan and India. The only success of, in terms of Pakistan-India relations, the only success of last 8 years is the construction of Kartarpur corridor. That is all Pakistan and India have achieved, and that too with the all the delaying tactics and opposition from Modi regime. They never wanted Kartarpur to happen. But again, Pakistan manifested its support for the minorities of India. And that is what counter narrative of Modi's policies, which are completely against the minorities of India. Modi revoked Article 370. And I asked Americans, to an American delegation, that till when you would rely on the rationality of the leadership of Pakistan to ensure strategic stability in South Asia. Because BJP government under Modi, they don't listen and they don't take burden of ensuring strategic stability in South Asia, whether it was Balakot or Khwaja or Uri attack, whatever. They use, this is ironic, this is highly irresponsible when they use their own Indian nuclear program to fetch votes in domestic electoral politics. Pakistan doesn't do that. Nuclear weapons are not an electoral issue here in Pakistan. We don't talk about them so and then when the defense minister says something that they will occupy Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir, then there are military generals say this. Is this the right way that dignified, responsible nations? Someone asked Pakistan that here the question was raised that Pakistan foreign policy reacts. What is this? What our enemy does? What reaction or action sort of these things are? And wise people, they respond. Less wiser people, they react. So always in your personal life as well, always try to respond, not to react. So right now Pakistan, we need two to tango. So right now Pakistan is dealing with Modi. Who is Modi? A narcissist fascist who wants to portray himself as the God of India, who wants to act like God of India. So whether it was his policy of COVID-19 to deal with COVID-19 or any other thing, it was disgusting. Then comes US-China competition. Pakistan stands almost at the center of US-China competition. And that situation intensifies when US scholars, professionals, they say that they view South Asia from the prism of US-China competition. And I wish that these Pakistani scholars can question US policymakers, excuse me, can question US policymakers and scholars that why US is always indulged in competition. A US scholar wrote a book, USA in Search of an Enemy. Why USA is always in search of an enemy? Why they need either Soviet Union or China or Islamophobia to justify their nationalism or to sustain their nation building? Why they create their nation on the foundation of fear that, okay, just accept us and accept our defense policy, otherwise there is Soviet Union or it is China. Why competition cannot be replaced by cooperation? Mahathir Mohamad, the great Muslim Malaysian leader, he said, he presented the idea of security through cooperation. And now we see that in ASEAN, in SCO, regions are achieving security through cooperation. Competition is not the only way to achieve security. So USA, and from Pakistan's perspective, US-China competition only benefits India. Why? We have seen that India was member of practically non-aligned movement, but they were part of Soviet group or pole during Cold War, and they were getting aid from Cito as well, because they created this 1962 and China as an enemy. So on one hand they were getting defense aid from Soviet Union, and on the other side from Cito or USA. So then India seeks its, or India exerts its strategic significance from accelerating the mistrust and competition between China and the USA. And my question is, what do you think, as the students of IR, if India was unable or chose to abstain in Russia-Ukraine conflict in favor of USA, they favored Russia, so they abstained in favor of Russia at UNO and did not support the West or Western agenda against Russia. What do you think that if there would be, God forbidden, any violent confrontation between China and the USA, would India would compromise their economic interests vis-a-vis their largest trading partner China for the sake of the West? They did not do it when it comes to Russia, and Russia is not that great or that huge trading partner of India. China is. So this is what the rational thinking the West or the US policymakers, if someone need to knock down in their head. Because it is the trend. India, not by words but by action, proved that they would not compromise their economic interests under any notion or for any other country, but only for India. It was J. Shankar who at international forum, Indian external minister, stated that what India buys from Russia, it is none of West's business or USA's business, because the gas or the oil India is buying from Russia, that is what West is buying in one day from Russia, so they have no right to question India. So if they behave like this, what do you think in case of US-China problem? Would they support USA while compromising all their trade with China? My answer is no, never. But meanwhile, till that violent conflict occurs, India would keep on exploiting USA's fears vis-a-vis China, and that so-called